My phone rang at 11:47 p.m., and I heard something no man should ever hear from someone he loves. "Grandpa." Her voice cracked. "They locked me in the basement. Said I'm not leaving till morning." I froze. Then a second voice took the phone, smug, slurred, yum. "Relax, old man. She's keeping us entertained. Stay home." They hung up. "Hi everyone, my name is Colt Maddox, and what those boys didn't know is that I'm not just some tired grandpa in a recliner. I'm a retired U.S. Special Forces commander with a memory like steel and a quiet temper that never announces itself. I don't do drama. I do results." By 12:30, 3 men were in my truck. Brothers from my old unit. No questions asked. We moved like ghosts. The house was lit up, music still playing. Upstairs they laughed. Downstairs she was locked behind a bolted door like some sick joke. No shouting. No kicking down doors. We got in. Controlled the space. 6 of them. All under 20. Zero resistance. Each one zip-tied on the floor, still trying to figure out if it was real. And then, the basement door creaked open. My granddaughter walked out on her own. Head high. Eyes calm. Silent. She looked at them one by one. Then turned around. Walked into the kitchen. Came back holding a knife. Laid it on the table. And said in a voice I didn't recognize, "Every single one of you is going to remember this night, forever." You could hear the ceiling fan hum. That's how quiet the room got. The knife didn't move. It just sat there on the table, gleaming under the kitchen light like a dare. My granddaughter didn't yell. Didn't cry. She pulled out a chair and sat down, like she was the one holding court. One of the boys stammered, "We were just messing around. It was a joke." She tilted her head. Locking someone in the dark isn't a joke. It's a warning sign. "Hi again, Colt Maddox here. And I've seen that look before. I've seen it on young soldiers who walked out of something no one expected them to survive. That strange, focused calm that doesn't need to scream to take control of a room." She wasn't here to punish. She was here to educate. I stood by the doorway. Not interfering. Just watching. "Tell me," she said softly, "what was so funny about it?" None of them answered. One kid, the one who took the phone from her, looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "Good." I called the sheriff's office. Spoke to a deputy I trust. Gave the address. Told him exactly what happened. No exaggeration, no emotion. "We'll be there in 20, he said. "Don't let them leave." I didn't smile when I hung up. I just looked at each of them and said, "You boys think this was a wild night? No. This was a life checkpoint. And you failed." They didn't argue. Not one word. The sirens started growing in the distance. And my granddaughter? She pushed the knife toward the center of the table and whispered something I'll never forget. "I brought it in peace. Don't make me regret that." The deputies arrived like a storm in slow motion. No lights flashing, no dramatic entrance. Just quiet authority in uniform. My granddaughter stood up as they entered. No tears. No trembling. Just that eerie composure that rattles you more than rage ever could. One officer gently asked, "Are you safe now?" She nodded once. "Yes, sir." But I wasn't. The other deputy started separating the boys. Names. Phones. Parental contacts. No cuffs, not yet. But you could see it in their eyes. This was real now. I stepped outside to make a call to her mother. I expected panic. Screaming. Instead her voice was cold. She always exaggerates. They're kids. Probably just roughhousing. I didn't argue. I just said, "She's staying with me now." And I hung up. Back inside, my granddaughter handed over the knife willingly. "I never intended to use it," she told the officers. "I just wanted to make them look at it and understand." She wasn't bluffing. She was making a point. One of the boys broke down crying. Another mumbled, "We didn't mean it like that." She turned toward him slowly. "You meant it enough to bolt the door and laugh while I screamed." Silence. The deputy looked at me. "You want charges filed?" I looked at her. Her choice. She paused, then said, "Not tonight. Let them sit with this. Let their parents come pick them up. But next time, there won't be a warning." One of the boys' phones started buzzing. Over and over. She walked over, picked it up, answered on speaker, and said calmly, "He'll call you back. He's busy facing what he became tonight." And she hung up. The parents started showing up around 4 a.m. SUVs screeched into the driveway, pajamas under coats, rage under fake concern. One mother stormed up to the porch. "My son is traumatized. You had no right to." My granddaughter stepped forward, calm as ever. "He locked me in a basement. For fun. I had no phone signal. No food. No light. The woman blinked. Hesitated. Then snapped, "He said it was a prank." She didn't flinch. Pranks don't involve panic attacks and bolt locks. The deputy interrupted. "Ma'am, your son confessed. Don't make it worse." Another parent tried to talk to me directly. "You're a veteran, right? Surely you know the difference between harm and mischief." I looked at him long enough that he stopped mid-sentence. "I also know the difference between boys and cowards," I said. Inside, one kid vomited in the sink. Another was still crying, hands shaking. Good. They needed to feel it. Every inch of it. At sunrise, the deputies gave their final report. "We'll file a full statement. You can press charges later if you want." But tonight, they walk out with marks on their records. It's not erased. As they left, my granddaughter turned to me and said, "They'll forget this by Monday." I shook my head. "Not if we finish what we started." She raised an eyebrow. I walked to my truck, popped the glove box, pulled out a small leather notebook. She asked, "What's that?" I handed it to her. "Names, contacts. Every man I ever trained who now works in schools, justice reform, or youth rehabilitation. If they're serious about changing, they're going to earn it." She flipped it open, smiled for the first time all night. "Let's make them remember." By morning, the media had already sniffed out a story. Not the full truth. Just enough headlines to twist the facts. Veteran invades teen party after basement prank. Girl's grandpa storms home with military backup. My phone rang nonstop. I turned them all off. But my granddaughter, she didn't flinch. She opened her laptop and started drafting a statement. Not for social media. For the school board, the police department, and every parent who called her overdramatic. "I'm not telling a story," she said. "I'm documenting an event." That's when I knew she was operating on another level. Meanwhile, 3 of the boys' parents filed complaints against me. Claimed I traumatized their sons by bringing soldiers into a private home. I didn't argue. I just faxed over the full police report. No weapons. No force. No damage. Just restraint. That afternoon, we received a visit from the superintendent. She was direct. "Is it true you trained youth behavioral officers?" I nodded. She asked to sit down with my granddaughter. What followed left me speechless. My girl recited every moment from that night. Timestamps, what was said, the darkness, the door that wouldn't budge. Then she paused and said, "And now they want to forget. But I don't. I live with it." The superintendent's face changed. She nodded slowly. "We'll be forming a restorative justice panel. Would you be willing to lead it?" My granddaughter looked her dead in the eye. "Only if they're required to show up." The first meeting of the restorative justice panel felt like a courtroom with no judge, just raw truth and uncomfortable chairs. All 6 boys sat in a row, their parents behind them like backup they didn't deserve. They weren't in handcuffs, but they looked trapped anyway, not by law but by shame. My granddaughter sat across from them, arms folded, a single printed photo on the table, the basement door. Locked from the outside. "This," she said, tapping the photo, "wasn't a mistake. It was a decision." The boys said nothing. Then the one who made the call that night, the smug voice, broke the silence. "I was drunk. I didn't think." She cut him off. "You thought enough to bolt the door and take my phone." He looked down. One of the parents stood up. "Isn't this just dragging things out?" "She's safe. No one was hurt." I stood. "No one was hurt? You think fear isn't an injury?" The room went still. The superintendent nodded at me to sit, but didn't stop me. My granddaughter leaned forward. "I don't want revenge. I want memory. I want every one of you to remember what it felt like when the joke stopped being funny." The room remained silent for 5 full minutes. That silence was the consequence. When it ended, she slid a stack of printed packets forward, one for each of them. "What's this?" one asked. She replied without blinking. 12 weeks of volunteer work at youth shelters. 1 hour for every minute you left me in the dark." They stared at her. She stood. "It's not optional. If you refuse, I'll go public, not with rage, with receipts." The parents looked at the superintendent. The superintendent said one word. "Approved." Week 1 they showed up in hoodies and excuses. By week 4 they showed up early. Cleaning youth shelters. Running hotline calls. Taking intake logs from kids who looked just like my granddaughter, scared, ignored, silenced. They didn't speak much. They listened. And that, I realized, was the real punishment. Not humiliation, exposure to truth. My granddaughter didn't supervise them. She didn't need to. She spent her evenings helping the district draft new student protection policies. Quiet, focused, unreadable. When I asked why she wasn't angry anymore, she said something I'll never forget. "I'm not done healing, Grandpa. But I'm done bleeding." Her mother came to visit for the first time in weeks. No yelling. Just awkward silence and a pie from the store. They sat on the porch together. I didn't eavesdrop, but when they hugged, really hugged, I looked away. Some repairs don't need witnesses. That night I found a small notebook on my desk. My granddaughter's handwriting. Page 1 said, "You showed up. Keep showing up." There were pages after that, blank. Waiting for whatever came next. And just like that I understood. This wasn't about fixing what happened. It was about building what never existed before. But I wasn't ready for what she said the next morning. She came down to breakfast, poured coffee like it was just another Saturday, then said, "Grandpa, I want to talk to the boy who locked the door." I paused. "Why?" She met my eyes. "Because I want to know if he even remembers my voice screaming on the other side." They met in the same community center. No panel this time. Just 2 chairs, a counselor nearby, and a single rule: truth only. He sat across from her, older now, not by years but by weight. The kind shame puts on your spine. She didn't flinch. "I'm not here to forgive you." He nodded. "I'm not here to ask." She leaned forward. "Then why did you do it?" His voice cracked. "Because I thought locking you up would make the others think I was cool." He waited for anger. She gave him something worse. Pity. "That's what you traded your decency for?" He looked away. "I didn't know it would haunt me." "You didn't think I'd remember?" she asked. He swallowed. "I hoped you wouldn't." She stood, but not to leave. She pulled something from her pocket and placed it on the table, not the knife. "A key. The shelter gave me this," she said. "To the same basement they now use for emergency beds. It's safe now. Warm. Protected." He stared at it. "That's where I volunteer every Saturday," she continued. "You're welcome to join me." His lips trembled. "Why would you offer that?" She stepped back, her voice calm. "Because some people lock doors. Others unlock them. I decided which one I want to be." I watched from the hallway as she walked out. She didn't look back. Later that night, she handed me her notebook again. The last page now had one sentence written in bold, clear handwriting. "I was never the victim. I was the verdict." And as I closed the book, I finally exhaled the breath I'd been holding since that first call. The darkness never stood a chance.